Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report. This is the space where we bring you Black America's headline news, views, and opinions. I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi.
I'm Nielle. Happy New Year.
And I'm Seth. On today's report, President Biden and Vice President Harris planning to speak on the anniversary of the Capitol insurrection. Former First Lady Michelle Obama wants you desperately to get vaccinated. And a Louisiana judge resigns after public outcry over some racial slurs she used.
Plus, we let you know what happened today in Black history, and fans want Black Panther to be recast.
I don't know about that, but we'll talk about that later. Soulmates, we have that and so much more. You know why? Because it's our voice and it's our truth. So let's talk about it.
Good evening. Let's jump into your headlines for today. President Biden and Vice President Harris, they are about to mark the anniversary. Hard to believe it's almost been a year of the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Now, the White House announced this Sunday releasing a schedule that shows that Biden and Harris are both going to speak in part of a series of events that have been organized by Democrats to memorialize the day. They're saying they're not going to let this go and mark the importance of this anniversary. The House is in session. It's not in session, so many lawmakers, they might be out of town. Nancy Pelosi, though, she says that she is going to mark a moment of silence, and she wants time for lawmakers to be able to share their very first-person testimony from a year ago, as well as hold a prayer vigil. Now, Biden's remarks Thursday, that's going to serve as something of a split screen as former President Trump holds what he's billing as a press conference at his estate in Mar-a-Lago on the very same day. I think it's interesting that President Trump still feels the need to interject himself into this highly contentious debate over whether what actually happened at the Capitol was appropriate, but it's clear that he's holding on to it, and I'm certain that he's going to reiterate those false narratives about the election again on Thursday, all of these months later.
You know, it's definitely surprising that it's been a year. I feel like we were literally just talking about this months ago. It went so fast. I'm really looking forward to see what Trump says, because that one really has me nervous. What is going to be his messaging? What is he going to say? Because he's been dying to get our attention. He's been dying for the world to hear his voice. And so I want to see what he's going to say. I also want to know what the Democrats are going to want to say. And I'm very curious to see how January 6th goes. Also, another concern that people are not really talking about right now is will there be more threats? Will this be another violent day? How will this day turn out? So I'm a little nervous, you know, but also optimistic that the Democrats are going to say something good for us to feel good on that day.
Well, I'm definitely not interested to hear anything Donald Trump has to say. And if he was smart, he wouldn't say anything at all, because there are a lot of lawsuits, civil suits, and criminal investigations that are going to pop off this month. So if he was smart, he would say less, as we like to say. But I'm also more excited about the January 6th committee and Benny Thompson, who leads it, who is a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. That's going to ramp up as well. And so if Donald Trump is a smart guy, he will sit, boo-boo, sit.
Yeah, he definitely should be quiet in this situation. I agree with you, Neil. At the end of the day, what happened on January the 6th changed our lives forever. It's going down in history as something that should have never happened on our soil, that we did to ourselves, so to speak. And I do applaud, you know, they're going to have that day, the honor to talk about the ones that were lost, the lives that was changed forever. But at the end of the day, we have to get down to why it happened, who's at fault. We got to continue to dig deep. I'm looking for this year, 2022, finding the answers of who really started, because deep down inside, we already know where it started. Yeah. It started at the White House with Donald Trump, where he was sitting back watching it, letting things happen on his watch, pretty much taking it in like, I created this madness. And I think he really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
right.
Starting 2022 off with some accountability.
Right.
Yeah.
Accountability. And here's somebody that Donald Trump should definitely be worried about. His name is Alvin Bragg, and he took office Saturday as Manhattan's first Black district attorney. Now, Bragg takes on the investigation into Donald Trump and his business practices from his predecessor, Cyrus Vance Jr., who declined to seek re-election last year after 12 years in the high-profile job. Now, after weeks of speculation about whether Vance would close his tenure with a bang by indicting Trump, the former DA has passed that decision to Bragg, a 40-year-old civil rights attorney and former federal prosecutor who was sworn in at a private ceremony in part because of COVID-19 concerns. Now, I am really excited about this because Bragg, he is a progressive, and he also represented Eric Gardner's family at this special trial that they were having for accountability for Eric Gardner. If you remember, he was the gentleman that was killed for just selling cigarettes. And so he's definitely a voice of progressives. He's definitely a voice of black movements and just for people of color. And I know that he's definitely has plans that they are reporting that he will be picking up that case against Donald Trump and pursuing it with all pressure. And another note, it just broke today that Letitia James, the Attorney General for the state of New York, had filed subpoenas for Ivanka Trump and Donald Trump Jr. So as I'm saying, the heat is on for the Trump family at large, and so this should be a really good year to see what's going to happen. And like you said, Seth, the word accountability is going to fall in play.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because if you think about it, he is going to keep one or two veteran prosecutors who led the case under Vance, right? So he's going for the throat. He's definitely going all in, and he wants to get answers. Again, this is the year where we want to get to the bottom of what happened on the insurrection. On top of that, you got to think about the midterms are coming up. What can we bring to life before the midterms get here, which will also get ahead of the 2024 election? Because if Trump decides to run, if this thing comes to life that he is involved with it, which we know he is, then maybe it'll shut all that down.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if he chooses to announce a run for office while he's facing these potential indictments, because the Manhattan DA's office doesn't play, neither does the Southern District of New York when it comes to the U.S. Attorney there, and they are all looking into these. And we are certainly going to see some action, some movement on that this year.
Yeah, now, speaking of action, Neil, I'm so glad you brought that up, because he is going to viciously attack the Trump case. And I just want to talk about the team that he has assembled. He assembled a team of legal experts all from around the country that all have the primary mission to expand public safety and hold lawmakers accountable. We talk a lot about accountability, and so it seems as though you also mentioned Letitia James. Having both of them on the job right now, I feel like we could be getting closer to seeing some real accountability. And one thing that made a lot of people excited online, he announced this on Twitter, and so when he put it online, he said he wants to deliver one standard with justice for all, because #justice can't wait. And that #justice can't wait got so many people excited, because when you think about it, justice really cannot wait, and we need to get down to the bottom of it.
All right, with the 2022 midterm elections in sight, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is expected to leave her post as a Speaker at the end of the current Congress. According to the Washington Post, the favorite to succeed Pelosi when she steps down from her position is Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York, the current chair of the House Democratic Caucus. But a debate over who will serve in leadership has just started and could potentially expose a deep gulf between progressives and moderates, according to the Post. Now, we know Nancy Pelosi, she's 81 years old. This is the conversation she's talking about, but many saying even if the Democrats lose the House and the Senate, she still may not step down. So we don't know if this is a sure thing, but what we do know is she manages to bring them together when needed, right? She rallies up the team, try to get things done. She's a leader. So is the question moving forward, is Hakeem going to be the leader, or is it going to take several people to get in that seat to go ahead and rally up the team to make things happen?
Well, Hakeem Jeffries was potentially going for that position the last go around when she when they voted for her to keep to be the House Speaker. And so he's definitely been waiting for the opportunity to be House Speaker. I believe that he will have the support of the Congressional Black Caucus, which will be key to helping him, get votes in the House to get this position. And I think that he's the man for the job. And let's not forget when he was on the House floor and he quoted that Biggie Small lyrics. I mean, he's definitely for the people. He has the swag to do it. And, we'll just see how the squad and everybody else embraces him as the leader of the House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to see how the chambers are both evolving as we have younger members join, and as the age that we see get elected to office become younger and younger in comparison. It's a stark comparison to the leadership that's been there for so long with no cap on how long they can serve. So that's a topic that's been, driving a lot of people to say that maybe we should consider less career politicians and having more hands that have true experience actually in the kitchen.
19 years is a long time to serve in one position. She's been there 19 years. Some may say she's done a great job. Some may say, have different opinions. But at the end of the day, it's always time for new faces, always time for new blood, always always time for new ideas because, our voting rights are at stake right now. The Black community needs a lot. So honestly, we need everyone who is all hands on deck, young ideas, new ideas. We need all of it. And this also will inspire a new generation of people that want to follow in her footsteps as well. So this is all good things. We love you, Nancy, but it's time for some new people to come on in.
Don't forget, though, guys, that Congress is a tenured organization. And so tenured is important when you look at Congress. It builds experience. And that's something that I don't want us to forget, that experience matters. And when people come into these positions, like even a House committee, to be the chair of it, you have to be in Congress a certain amount of years to even be considered to be the chair of a committee. So tenured is a big deal in Congress. And I think that experience matters. So although I do want to see new blood in Congress and these new faces, I think that experience should still be considered.
There's got to be some balance in between the two. That's the whole purpose of democracy.
Right.
Different voices, different opinions, all coming together and solving the issues.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Absolutely. Great points. So Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced the Senate will vote on filibuster rule changes to advance stall voting legislation that Democrats say is needed to protect democracy, according to the AP. In a letter Monday to colleagues, Schumer said the Senate must evolve and will debate and consider changes to the rules by January 17th, on or before Martin Luther King Jr. Day, as Democrats seek to overcome Republican opposition to their elections law package. We not everybody really dives into the filibuster. The filibuster is something we just talk about, but there are many people that don't really know what the filibuster is, what it does, how it affects the Black community. And so I remember a few months ago, I really did a deep dive into what the filibuster is, how it affects us. There was this great story in the Washington Post that broke down how the filibuster has been used against us in history. And I just want to kind of break a little bit of it down. So they say that this story says that the founders of the filibuster won't agree that it started as a racist tactic. They won't agree to that. But over time, it picked up Jim Crow relic, and it's been used for racist reasons, of course, a long history of blocking voting rights bills, civil rights bills. And so I love that Senator Raphael Warnock, he also hopped in and said his personal and state, every leverage that he has, every tool that he has in his toolbox, he's going to use it to tackle voting rights, and that includes the filibuster. So, soulmates, if you get a chance to dive deep on the filibuster, it is very important. It has a long history of how racism affects us in our community.
I mean,
years long.
Rule changes in Congress are always hard because if you change a rule for your party to benefit at this moment, then in the future the pendulum swings both ways. It could be harmful in the future for Democrats. I think that's why President Biden has said that he's not a staunch supporter of making that rule change so suddenly. But the question that Schumer's asking in his letter is, are voting rights enough of an issue that for this moment the filibuster should be axed? Do the rules need to be changed because voting rights are paramount to every American citizen? This is something that may, pass the test of being something that's more necessary than preserving some of the archaic procedural processes that the Senate and the representatives have.
And this is really interesting because when we look back at the Civil Rights Act of 1964, they took out the Voting Rights Act to pass. Lyndon B. Johnson, it was a big conversation on the Hill, and they actually took out voting rights. And then, as you know, they passed the Voting Rights Bill in 1965. So the filibuster was a conversation back then. It was potentially a tactic to, sway the Voting Rights Bill to be in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And then they turned around in 65, and Lyndon B. Johnson made a promise to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and in 65 he kept that promise and it passed. So the filibuster is a ongoing conversation when we talk about voting rights, and it's something that really needs to be challenged. If they were able to bypass the filibuster for the Build Back Better plan, they definitely should be able to do it for voting rights. And at the end of the day, the House is concerned, so should the Senate be, because when Martin Luther King's holiday comes up in a couple of weeks, there are going to be civil rights advocates and organizations that are going to be on Capitol Hill and all across this country pushing up on voting rights. They're going to take Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy and use it as a push to push Congress to pass voting rights. They can do it. They should do it, because this is something that people of color, that we don't just deserve it. It should be our right. And we shouldn't have to go back to a time in the past where white America didn't want us to vote. And it seems like we're still in this position today, and it is heartbreaking.
I agree with you 100%. At the end of the day, we'll be talking about the filibuster if the election would have turned out a little bit differently. If Trump would have won in 2020, we would be having this issue. Would have been changing all these things in all these states. The fear of losing or getting flipped, just like what happened in Georgia. We saw what happened in Georgia because we got out, we voted, we made that happen. We as black people stepped up to the plate, right? So moving forward, how do we get past this? Do we have to figure out how to do it, like you said, Neil, with the filibuster, with how they worked it out for the Build Back Better plans? How you pronounce it? I'm going to make sure I said it right. But at the end of the day, I say if the election turned out differently in 2020, we may not be having this conversation right now.
You know, Neil, I think you're absolutely right that there are so many things that we feel like we shouldn't have to fight for, right? I feel like in 2022, of course, it's a new year. There are so many things that are like, why are we still fighting for this? That should be so much easier. And so that's why it's so important to have so many advocates, so many activists that are fighting for us day in and day out, and we support them in their fight.
Yeah, voting rights, it's not a black issue. It's an everybody issue.
Absolutely.
And like, you know, if you don't study your history and learn from it, you are doomed to repeat it. And here we are again.
Here we are, exactly. Now, former First Lady Michelle Obama and several celebrity mothers around the country have joined forces for a public service announcement encouraging others to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Take a look.
You don't need to be a mom to be a superhero. You can keep yourself and those around you safe by getting your COVID vaccine or booster today. Go to vaccines.gov to learn more.
Now, the moms of NBA superstar Chris Paul, Grammy Award winner Alicia Keys, actor John Davis Washington, and the multi-talented Zendaya all made cameos in the PSA. We're still battling this pandemic known as COVID-19. And so by any means necessary, if it's celebrity moms, if it's our forever First Lady Michelle Obama, whatever it takes, we still have to be vigilant about curbing this pandemic, because right now, the way the news is spinning and the CDC and what the WHO is saying is that we are about to take a deeper dive, and COVID-19 is going to become even scarier than what it was when it first started.
I agree with you, and I like these PSAs, excuse me, but why don't we just show the families that have empty seats at their table for the holidays? Why don't we show the workspaces that are right now, they're short employees because either they're sick or people had to get furloughed because of what's happening? The reality is the numbers, they're rising once again. And we as a country have to be smarter. We have to say, we've seen what's happened over the last 2 years. We have another variant that could be on the way. At the end of the day, we have to say we have to do this for ourselves, for our families. So I applaud the PSAs. I love that. But I think when you show the reality ones of families that are suffering and people in the hospital, those are going to hit close to home.
You know, remember when the former presidents all got together and they wanted us to show us the importance of getting vaccines? And I remember when that story came out, we talked about it here on Fox News Black Report. I was just like, this is so performative. Like, we don't need this. Like, who's going to listen to this? Who's going to want to go get a vaccine just because the former presidents are getting it? So now I kind of feel a little bit differently, because you have people like, and not to shame Kyrie Irving, but you have people who look up to Chris Paul, and seeing his mom is actually a big deal. Seeing seeing David Washington's mom on there, they're going to be like, wow, like if his mom is doing it, I want to do it too. And so sadly, we have so many people that are watching people like I said, Kyrie Irving, who are saying, I don't want to be vaccinated, I'm immunized and things of that nature, following in their footsteps. So you need a positive. On the other hand, some positives where people are like, hey, listen, I know he's doing this, but Chris Paul's mom, she wants you to do this. And the video, David, I always want to say Denzel, David Washington's mom was like, hey, she was honest, like, hey, I was hesitant about getting the vaccine, but now she's like, you know, encouraging people. And so I love this. I love this. At first I didn't like, you know, PSAs like you said, Romeo, too, but I kind of like what they're doing with this now.
There's something about the power of moms, right? And the moms of these celebrity athletes who raised, and celebrity actors who raised incredible people who have done well in their fields. It kind of hits you that where mom is thinking and encouraging people, that nurture, that really tugs at people's hearts.
Yeah, it does.
And just speaking of First Lady Michelle Obama, did you guys see her post with Barack Obama and she said her boo.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. And this is why we listen to moms,
Yes.
to your
Right.
point,
Yes.
Steph, is because, you know, she's just the coolest mom, coolest
Exactly.
first lady, our forever first lady. I just thought that was so cute.
You know, Neil, that was so funny too. Was like everyone was going crazy because she called her boo, and it's like, doesn't everybody call their man their boo? Like, why was that worldwide
I like
news?
seeing them relax now.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
they're out of
Ooh.
office.
It was-
Great right there.
Yeah.
That was
It
beautiful.
was
Let them be
worldwide
themselves.
news. Yeah, I love it.
All right, soulmates, coming up, a Louisiana judge resigns after racial slurs were revealed. Details next on Fox Soul's Black Report.